Hi everyone, it's Silent here. Now, I haven't been in your inbox for quite a little while, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But today I wanted to come on and talk about a subject that I know that I sometimes struggle with. And I think as if you're highly empathic and highly sensitive, this challenge basically has its own set of challenges when you're empathic and sensitive, and that is when you are trying to decide what sort of training or course to do, or if you want to work with a certain therapist or coach, how do you choose what one to go for? Okay, now there's a lot of obvious things that you have to consider. So obviously one of the most obvious things is this for whatever issue you've got or whatever you want to learn, is this course going to give you that? Okay. One of the things that I know, as someone who has spent crazy money, and I mean crazy money in the holistic, and well-being sort of products and services and things like that, is that sometimes things promises a certain thing or imply a certain thing, but they don't always give us what we expect or what we really need at that point. And sometimes it's about having discernment and even asking the right questions about something. Also, it's about you recognizing at that point, are you ready to do that full investment? So no matter what you're choosing, are you fully invested in doing the work for that course or program? So these are obvious things, okay? Now, when I started, buying courses and buying people's services, I came from what we call a very strong pain point. And most of my followers and my different sort of platforms know that I've had very sort of some chronic and rare medical conditions, and some from a very young age. And when I turned 19, I had extreme health challenges that was really impacting my life. And then by the time I got to 21, nearly 22, I spent a large part of so many years, I think it was about approximately 7 years. I had periods between that, I had a little bit better, but there was big chunks of that where I was kind of classed as predominantly housebound. I was bed and housebound during these periods. And when I was trying to get help, a lot of times I was desperate, and I'll be honest, I was desperate, and people would say, oh, you should try this, or you should try this, and you would try anything. And I started to learn along the way that a lot of times, I'm not saying I completely wasted my money, but sometimes I did. Sometimes these types of therapies or healing or coaching or whatever it was were not what I needed, okay? Or the person that was working was not experienced enough. Which happens a lot in our industry, sadly, is that a lot of things make claims that it can help everything and almost help everything, and they didn't really. And some things say they can assist, and you would be lucky if it was 1%. And if that 1% was down, or the 3% or 5%, within a day or two, that was gone. So, I was someone who didn't even get proper disability benefits and sickness benefits for a variety of reasons, and I was in a very low income, so every penny counted in what I was doing. Now, my parents did try and help me as much as they can, because they seen their daughter extremely ill and the rest of all my family being able to have a normal life, and I didn't. My life was very, very limited, and mainstream medicine could offer me nothing. And it became that my life became that I invested constantly in holistic services. And somewhat I've done it from a passion point of view, that I really love a lot of subjects and want to learn more, and also sometimes from a professional point of view, I want to ensure that my clients and my customers are getting the best service they can, and they're being taught. One of the things that I've always advocated is making sure that you're giving people the most safest tools and effective tools, But what I do know, if you're highly empathic and highly sensitive, is that when you go to choose certain things and you start to speak to the therapist or the trainer or the educator or people that you know are offering services, when you're very empathic, you are more easily, and I don't know if swayed's the word, but because you're very compassionate towards other people and you're a bit of a people pleaser, you can sometimes not want to hurt other people's feelings. And I've had lots of experiences where many healers have tried to really push their services onto me, or assume that I am the right, or they are the right therapist, coach, or healer for me. And often my gut has kind of told me, or because I know more than they knew about certain things, or I have more awareness about my issues, is that I kind of recognise that I'm not. But because I've been a bit of a people pleaser, I don't want to hurt their feelings. That is sometimes, a big issue with empaths and sensitive, because they're so used to being the people pleaser and trying to even support the person that they like. Okay, that is not the wisest reason to buy from someone. Okay, and it's been a big learning curve for me. And I have lots of friends that are therapists and coaches and healers, and many of them, really highly effective, and I use them for certain things, and certain things I don't. And I know that sometimes they can be a little bit, people assume, why are you not coming to me, and there's a sort of personal aspect, but you've got to take that part of the equation out of it when you are choosing anything from a coach, healer, a therapist, or a course and a program. And one of the things I would say to you is, do not be frightened to ask questions. Okay, so the first thing I always say, is when you're choosing something, ask why you are choosing something. Why do you want that type of program or course? And you want to make sure that that course or program is, often a lot of things can't completely guarantee something, but you want to give yourself the best chance of that being what you want. Now, for example, for people who inquire about my relaxation therapist training or my stress management 101, I have a webinar that explains what type of course it is and what type of students it's for, and what type of things they will get, okay, and what maybe things they won't get. Or, so one of the things that in my training is that I only want students who are highly dedicated and want professional training. These are students who are not interested in fast track training. They're interested in not just getting the certificate, but getting actually the skills, the professional skills, by someone who's been there and done it. And that's where I come in, because I have a lot of experience, and I've invested 30 years, in not just working with clients and training clients, but actually studying as much as I can. And that is the type of student that I want, okay? And I make it quite clear what set of things and how it is. So it's online training. It does have some online assessment, but there's some things it doesn't have, okay? Now, one of the things that sometimes happens is when people are asking me questions, or they want to have a chat, which is fine, I sometimes can sense when this is probably not the right course for them. And I'm the type of person that is never going to push someone just for a sale, because it's just, I've been there. I've been there when lots of therapists have took lots of money off me and training, and it was a waste of money. And that's, and I mean, I'm someone who loves this industry, but there is a part of that industry, so I know that. And I think that we all have to sometimes stop and be more in the moment when we're choosing all sorts of things, and really be strong within ourselves and step back when other people are trying to persuade us, are trying to convince us that they're the right person, or I've had it that, or my partner, my wife or my husband, he's the best healer and whatever, blah, 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 or they're the best therapist, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes, maybe unconsciously, there can be slightly a bit of manipulation, but it's important that we stand back, tap into ourselves, and know what's right for us. Now, I'm someone that does, and I sometimes what we call hop therapists, which is not always good. But I'm once I start working with someone, I can know very quickly, or affect quite quickly, if they're as experienced or as skilled as what they've made out or in a particular area. And often I find that sometimes I go in, I make mistakes, and I start doing, and I might get something off someone, but then I realise they're trying to treat me or want me to do a course in one area, and I may know someone else that is more skilled in that area, okay? And this is where it's really important to have discernment. And if you're coming into a situation where you're having a discussion with anyone about, what courses you're doing or what therapist, if you need to go into a ball and ask for guidance. Do not feel manipulated by, anyone for that sale. Now, as part of this type of work, we have to sell, and we have to try and sort of share the benefits and encourage people to come on a training, of course. And that's part of what I have to do in my business, just to make a living, or to do what I want to do, or to do what also is what I believe is my greatest gift. Okay. But at the same time, I know as a highly sensitive empath how difficult it can be when you don't have the strongest boundaries, and also when you are feeling sorry for someone, or you believe, oh, I really like them, I would like to support their business. Now, I made a mistake about 5 or 6 weeks ago about a situation. I took someone on to help me with certain things in my business. And it was, a few things had happened, and the situation, the person had come into my awareness through something else, and it was a sort of contact. But when I actually looked at the person's maybe credentials or even their marketing to do with their services, after kind of initially creating this sort of how can you say, chat to discuss the services, I started to kind of have doubts and think, don't think this is the person for me. I don't think their skill match is actually right. But I had a strong sense about the person. That person was struggling, because I'm very, very empathic, and I've got slightly psychic sensitive abilities. So what happened when the person came on the call, and this is my issue, and this is something that I have to address, and I'm addressing, but right away what happened was, I as an empath honed in that this person was struggling in lots of ways. So the empathic, compassionate part of me wanted to give the person the job to support them. Okay? Now, a few things positive came out, but what ended up happening, but also it became a little bit of a problem for me, because things didn't get done the way that I needed it done, and the time scale it done, and whatever. So I ended up having to kind of end that situation, and at the end of it all turned out quite positive, the way that I dealt with it. But it was a valuable lesson, because it reminded me how many decisions I make in my business, and in so many situations where I choose, because I feel compassion, and is it compassion? It's feeling sorry it's not always that's not a healthy thing. You can be compassionate towards someone's situation, but trying to be the fixer is not, it's not really that can be a very distorted perception. And it was a valuable lesson for me because it did remind me of a lot of situations in my life where I have um, allowed people to manipulate, cajole, and take me down a route that really I knew wasn't in my 100% interest. I know that they couldn't see it from that perspective. Sometimes people, see if that person doesn't want to get help or whatever. But I think that is a very important thing that empaths has to consider. It's one of those situations that we find ourselves in many situations in life where empaths are people pleasers, and also because often your energy merges. If you've not addressed that issue and you don't have clear boundaries, you are basically bending. It's almost like your energy goes down to match that other person's. Now, I have to say, over the last 3 years, I've made dramatic leaps in my boundaries, but compared to what I was, okay, but I certainly do not have that perfect yet. I certainly have still got a wee way to go, but I think, one of these things is that we are being highly empathic. Often we do have very distorted ways of being, and we don't realise it. We think that we are just being ourselves or doing what we're supposed to do. And yes, if you're highly empathic, highly sensitive, you have certain gifts, and part of those gifts will be that you are more the supporter and the healer in this perspective, okay? But we are not here to be everybody's fixer. And by me doing what I did, I caused myself more anxiety and worry and stress. Okay, now that's my main work, stress therapy, but right away I realised what I was doing was creating myself more problems because I was not making a choice out of what I really needed, okay, and what my business needed and what I wanted. I was trying to accommodate that person's problem. And that's what a lot of empaths do. They're too busy trying to accommodate everyone else's pain, and they do not make the healthiest decision for them. So no matter what you are choosing, choose what is right for you. And don't be frightened to ask questions and ask about the person's experience, how many years experience have they got, what sort of specific training, what results do they have for certain things. Do not be scared to ask those questions. And it's something that I ask now more and more because because I have, I've worked with many people, I like to know what kind of results and how many people they've worked with and what sort of things, because people apply a lot of things, it doesn't always match. And the more that you can do that, you can actually really stop wasting a lot of time, energy and money. And when we're going to do training, particularly for a therapist, I know what I've done in the past. I just do things because I fancy something. Oh, that sounds great. And then I've started to get into something and realise that I know about 90% of it. It was just the way it was worded, or that it was not really what I thought it would be. So don't be scared to ask questions, okay? It's about us owning our truth, owning what we need, and part of empowering empaths is very much about helping you identify what you really need and want, not constantly accommodating other people around you. And then that's why you don't move forward, because you're making decisions constantly for the wrong reasons. And it made me look at loads of situations where I was making the wrong decisions in relation just to be a people pleaser. Okay, so I hope that's helped. I hope you're having a wonderful week. Bye for now.